And then there were three. We're down to three names, and probably not the three any of us really thought we're still going to be standing at this point. We're going to talk about that, plus how you can A, get a secret sneak peek look at what the potential logos might be, and B, we're just going to find out which one you prefer out of the three that are remaining. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to wrap up that Penguins game. And there's a Shaun White clothing collab coming for the Utah Hockey Club. Oh, and there's snowboards involved too. I'll tell you about it all when we come back. Stay tuned. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, Tom Callahan coming to you live from the road. Don't mind me hanging out in my hotel room here, but just wanted to get in front of you because this is a fairly important day for Utah Hockey Club. We know a couple of things we did not know before, and probably the most pressing question. It's not trade deadline acquisitions. It's not who stays and who goes come free agency. It's not the draft. It's what are you going to name the team? And we're down to three supposed finalists here. And I think that the way things have gone, and we can talk a little bit about that saga, this is about as neat and tidy of a bow as we're going to be able to wrap it in. Plus, we have a disappointing 3-2 overtime loss to the Penguins. Utah does get a point, but we're going to talk about that game wrap as well a little bit later on. Plus, a Shaun White collaboration coming up with some cool gear. And I'll tell you, number one, what's in it. Number two, how to get it. So you're going to want to stick around for that. So, all right, well, let's just kick right into it. As I remind you, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Normally, I lead with the game wrap. Normally, we jump right into talking about Sidney Crosby, the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I think it's just far more important for us to jump into what's going on with the team name. And so I'm going to lead with that. And the reason I want to lead with that is because this has been such a saga lately. So Yeti was ruled out. There was some other ones that were still hanging around, like the Outlaws and the Venom and the Blizzard, and we've heard all those kicked around. And there's some work to be done for some of them. One of the names that was mentioned in all of the patents and trademark applications that had gone around the last couple of weeks, Mammoth had the path of least resistance, so that one graduates to the final three, I think, based on that alone. And a lot of people are starting to warm to the idea. I liked it from the beginning. If it wasn't going to be Yeti, I'm great with Mammoth. Utah Hockey Club has remained. It has made its way through. Little bit more work to be done as far as trademarking the name, but not impossible. And honestly, not even really all that difficult. I guess the issue, if you want to call it that, I'm not even sure that's the right word, is that Utah and hockey and club separately are all just very generic words. And you can't trademark generic words and terms. So there is, I don't want to call it a loophole, but there is a clause in there that if you show you have already been operating or can prove that Utah Hockey Club as a mark has been something you've been using already, which obviously there's an easy proof of the use case here by an NHL team, it's pretty public, then you could apply to keep it. So they may keep it. It's not that much extra onto getting that paperwork done. And because they already have 6 months, 7 months of use, they could argue that in getting Utah Hockey Club approved. So there's that, there's Mammoth, and now there's a new entry. This is interesting. Wasatch has entered. Yes, like the mountains that are just kind of hanging out there and looking over Salt Lake City. So Wasatch is a new, I don't think anyone saw this coming, name. It does follow kind of the recent naming convention in sports teams where it's not a plural of something, and which is interesting, but certainly regional significance. I think that is one of the reasons why it was picked. But from what I've seen, heard, whispers, here's the interesting thing is that, so number one, they're not letting anybody actually see what is going on outside of people who go to the Delta Center. The media had a limited look at it, and fans get a limited look at it, but you can't take photos. You cannot share it. You have to put your phone away when you go in there, and you are escorted. One person is escorted by two people from the hockey team. They are very serious about keeping this just to the vision of people who get down there to the Delta Center for the next couple of games. So if you're going to a game the next couple of games, you can go ahead and take a look at what the new logos would be. Here's the interesting thing, and why I think Utah Hockey Club and or Wasatch might end up being the choice. They can still get a Yeti as a mascot. So, and that could be the logo, because now think of so specifically Wasatch, which is, it's going to take some time to roll off the tongue, right? If that's the direction they go. But if they do, you are tailor made to have a mountain and a Yeti as your logo. And which you could do with hockey club as well. They already look at the inaugural season logo. They already have one with the mountains worked into it. It's already kind of an established thing that they use the mountain peaks in there. So I would not be surprised, actually, if it was either one of those two. Now, look, I feel like there has been a lot of momentum that's generating now for Mammoth. And it's a cool logo. I mean, an Ice Age woolly mammoth. The colors are perfect for it. You have a giant white elephant with the blue, the steel blue that's in there, and would just look amazing with the black. Like, you could do some really cool things. Maybe add some silver into there as well. I know folks have been lobbying for copper, maybe as an additional color, which would look great as a highlight color as well. There's a lot you could do. So I'm interested to see what direction they're going to go with that. But if they're really hung up on a Yeti mascot, they could do it with either Wasatch or Hockey Club. I mean, Utah Hockey Club can be anything you want it to. Really, I mean, you could have anything for your mascot there, and then work it into your logo design. Same thing, really, same thing with Wasatch. So, um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. This is interesting. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you that we're going to be putting up, if by the time you see this, all the polls should be up. We have a poll that's running over on Twitter. We're going to put up a Facebook poll. We're going to put up a Blue Sky poll. And I want to see your vote. You can even vote down below in the comments. I want to know what your vote is. What do you think that the nickname should be for this team? Because that's the point we're at now. We got to figure out what we're going to call this hockey club. Maybe still Hockey Club. And I don't know. It's interesting. We're kind of up against it now, and I think it's a kind of a neat road that's brought us here with disappointment. Obviously, I was a big proponent of Yeti. You guys have heard that. I was rooting for that. That's not going to happen. So we'll figure it out. But again, if you want to see it, this is the other important part. If you can get down to Delta Center for the next couple of games, I recommend you do that, because if you're able to get down there, you can take a look. And again, you can't take pictures. You are escorted in and out, but you can get a look at what those logos might be. So if you're that curious, I suggest heading on down there. So just my thoughts. We are down to 3 for the name. Which one do you like? So let us know. All right. I'm going to get to that Pittsburgh Penguins game wrap here. Also want to talk about the Shaun White collaboration that's coming up if we've got time. I'm going to try to get to the post-game comments from head coach Andre Tourigny following that 3-2 overtime decision against the Penguins. And we're going to talk about that one here right now. Okay, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. You know, attending NFL playoff games is an unforgettable experience. It brings fans together, and now it's time for the big one. We got Kansas City, we got Philadelphia. Me going to playoff games, especially being a Bills fan growing up in Buffalo, there was always a chance to go to the playoffs when I was younger and the team was good. It was in those 4 Super Bowl eras. So, I might be dating myself, but man, it was a great time to be a fan, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, the town is just possessed, as it is again now, by that Bills fever and, Bills Mafia fan base going strong. So hopefully next year is our year. I know we say that every year, but either way, going to the playoff games was just, it was cool. Going with family, going with friends sometimes. it's a lot of memories that I still hold dear, and things that I think about all the time, and especially during Bill season. And we could tell stories. My buddies and I and elbow one another. Hey, remember that time? Yeah, absolutely, we do. So, what does this have to do with Game Time, Tom? Well, they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I recently used Game Time Picks to find tickets for a game at Fenway Park, the Boston Red Sox. I was traveling. That's the other cool thing about this is you can just last second spur of the moment think to yourself, I want to go here to this game. You jump on Game Time and you do a couple of things. Number one, you're going to look for the super deal and they're going to stick out. They're going to be the best priced seats at that location. The other thing is toggle in the all in pricing. It's not on by default. Put that sucker on and then look at the super deal. You get the panoramic view of your seats. You know where you're going to sit. You know what it's going to look like. It's so easy. And there's ticket delivery right to your phone on time, right there. So easy to scan yourself into the ballpark or the stadium, wherever you're going. And a low price guarantee gives you peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Then go ahead and create an account and use our code, which is locked on NHL. So let me spell that guy for you. It's LOCKED NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code locked on NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, I'm going to take a swig of the old water here so I don't die on you. Whew, all right. Let's get into that Penguins game wrap, everybody. Hey, if you're here right now, why don't you hit the subscribe button? Give us a like, thumbs up on the old YouTube there. That helps us with the algorithm, helps you find more great hockey content, and helps draw more fans like you who like this show to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club. And we appreciate you guys, really, what you do, the way you interact. I got another question that I got on social media over on Blue Sky, which is where I spend most of my time now, at Tom Talks over on Blue Sky. But we're on Blue Sky, we're on Twitter, Facebook, we're on Threads. I mean, all you have to do is search Locked On Utah Hockey Club. You'll find us. We're out there. So, by the way, send us your questions. Now, we haven't done a full mailbag segment in a while, but as I get questions, I answer them. And I've got one I'm going to answer on the next show, tomorrow's show, that I want to talk about as well. But right now, let's get to this Penguins game wrap. 3-2 in overtime. And at times it was pedestrian. I thought Utah getting off to a good start and out shooting Pittsburgh 12-4 in the first was interesting. Pardon me, because to start it off, Pittsburgh had a couple great chances and a 2-on-1 with Crosby pretty much right off the hop. And I thought, uh-oh, this is how this game's going to go. Turns out it wasn't. Certainly not the first period. As I just told you, they outshot them. And later on, Utah scored on its only power play of the game. It was not a penalty-filled affair. It was not a lot of anything going on. I happen to catch some of the national feed for the game and hearing at one point there was a question asked, what's it like down there between the benches? I forget who was between the benches. Might have been Brian Boucher. But there was really no chatter between the two teams. They don't know each other. They don't really carry a dislike for one another. Yeah, there's a couple of former Penguins on Utah, but there just wasn't much. So it was a hockey game. You know what I mean? It wasn't, all the sideshow skullduggery and chicanery. It was just hockey being played. And that's what made it interesting and competitive. So Pittsburgh comes back to tie it. So Sergachev, by the way, welcome back. First of all, Mikhail Sergachev, he scores the power play goal. Great shot. Picks a high corner, coming down the slot. It had a great lane. Awesome shot. So, and congratulations to Nick Schmaltz getting a 30 assists on the year. So it's 1-0 after one. Looks good for Utah. Well, in the second period, as often happens to Utah this year, they end up getting outshot. They get outscored, or they don't get outscored. They each scored a goal in the period, but they get outshot 15-7. Pittsburgh comes back. Pettersson scores from Crosby and Grzelcyk to make it a 1-1 game. Carcone does answer, and I like this goal by Carcone. If you haven't seen the replay, check it out. He's driving to the net, and the initial save is made by Nedeljkovic. But Carcone keeps going, and he gets in there after it, and Nedeljkovic doesn't really have his balance to be able to cover the puck the way he's kind of fallen over, and Carcone is able to push it in past him. And I really like the second effort by Carcone. I like him going to the net. I like him following the puck. All good stuff. So I thought that was a good one. And it's 2-1 after two. Then in the third, shots are even at 9 apiece. So both teams, I think, are going back and forth at this point. Erik Karlsson ends up with a goal, really nice goal, 6-17. Can't you have to figure Pittsburgh's going to push back. Well, towards the end of the game, I think both teams had some chances, but we go to overtime. And in the OT, it wheeled back and forth quite a bit. Both teams have a lot of talent. I thought Utah didn't have as much luck really turning their chances into grade A's. They have one or two that I thought weren't bad looks, but at the end of the day, each team ended up with only one shot. A lot of puck possession, a lot of wheeling around the zone, but just unable to get it done. And Sidney Crosby does Sidney Crosby. 3:54 into the overtime, cuts across from left to right across the front of the net, and tucks it in backhand. I mean, he had the width of a puck to put it past the outstretched left pad of Connor Ingram in the post, and he did. So that's a tough one. That's a tough way to lose. So as we take a look at the stats here from this one on the recap, 3-2 your final score in overtime. So Utah gets a point. Shots on goal finished at 29 apiece. Utah 1-for-1 on the power play. Pittsburgh 0-for-1. Very few penalties. Pittsburgh better in the circle, 38-29. This stat I thought was really interesting. Giveaways versus takeaways. 25 giveaways for Utah in the game. That's pretty high. 8 takeaways. Pittsburgh 18 giveaways. 7 takeaways. Keep in mind, Pittsburgh is the second worst team in the Eastern Conference, by the way. 24 hits for Utah and 35 for Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh out hits the Utah Hockey Club, which should not happen. That should not happen. And that's something I also want to point out for a team that is supposed to be big, supposed to be physical, and play a bigger game. You can't have that happen. But Pittsburgh out hits them, and the Penguins win the hockey game. And so just grabbing another swig there in the water. I don't know why I'm so parched. It is just really dry here. But you know what? The other thing I thought was interesting, and I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about this. They actually didn't get the goaltenders time on ice right for whatever reason. But I thought Ingram was good. I really did. I thought Connor Ingram was good. Nedeljkovic was good. And by and large, with the 5-on-5 play, there was one scrap in there, Imama against O'Brien. Of course, the crowd loved that. I don't think either guy was satisfied with how it went because they kind of spun down to the ice quickly and the linesman jumped right in there. They tried to pop back up and keep it going, but it didn't quite work out. I thought it was a solid home game by Utah. But again, those little things, Robin and I talked about it earlier in the week, little things that are missing for this Utah Hockey Club. The secondary scoring, the ability to kind of push them over the edge and make those things happen. Just a little bit of that's missing, and it's hard to put your finger on why. But right now, that's where they're at, and it showed against Pittsburgh. I mean, they had chances where they probably could have stretched the lead out, tried to put the game away. Even in the first period, they could have come out with 2 or 3 goals. They just didn't. Their starts are okay, but they're not good. They're not great. And then, in the second period, the pendulum often swings back the other way, at least initially. So that's just something that Utah Hockey Club has still got to figure out. And they don't have the answer on that yet. So, all right, let's look back at the Pittsburgh game. I want to talk about the Shaun White collaboration here that is coming up. They just made an announcement about that. And the reason why I'm getting that out to you, this show is coming out a little bit late on a Thursday here on the 30th, but the collab opens up on Friday morning. And I'm going to tell you about that. Plus, we are going to have a chance to get some post-game reaction from head coach Andre Tourigny. So stick around right here in the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Okay, so as we go to wrap things up here, before we get to Andre Tourigny, let's talk about this Shaun White collaboration that was just announced. And so here's the story. So Shaun White's WHITESPACE brand is going to release a limited edition collection of snowboards and apparel. So that is three-time Olympic gold medalist Shaun White. That's his brand, WHITESPACE. So the collection's going on sale Friday, January 31st. So if you're seeing this podcast Thursday, it's tomorrow. If it's Friday, hey, it's today. Get on it. Here's what it is. It's co-branded Utah Hockey Club X WHITESPACE AMF Park Twin Snowboard, a Breakout WHITESPACE hoodie, and a logo WHITESPACE beanie. So the WHITESPACE AMF Park Twin Snowboard is limited edition, and this is interesting. It actually says collection includes one limited edition snowboard, which is $600, co-designed by the creative teams at Utah Hockey Club and WHITESPACE, and it's going to be part of the sale that also includes a premium Breakout WHITESPACE hoodie for $100 and a logo WHITESPACE beanie for $45. Now, both of those are customized with the Utah Hockey Club's inaugural season branding. So it's kind of a unique thing, kind of cool. So just started in January 2024 when WHITESPACE did some jazz stuff. So if you're in the area, you may remember that. They did some performance gear and snowboards. So this collection is available while supplies last, only at the team store inside the Delta Center. So if you're not in the Delta Center region, you're not going to be able to get it online. It's only at the Delta Center. Now, once we're able to share that with you, we have been told that we will get a look, meaning the press will get a look at the collection at 10 o'clock on January 31st. When we do, we'll be able to share it. But again, you're not going to be able to order it unless you get down to Delta Center. And it's first come, first serve. It's limited edition stuff at the team store inside the Delta Center. So again, that's 10 o'clock on Friday, January 31st. Okay, with that in the backdrop, why don't we go ahead and go listen in on what head coach Andre Tourigny had to say following his team's 3-2 overtime defeat against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Tourigny was saying it was hard to find reasons for why they weren't able to finish out the third period. From your vantage point, just what happened there?
They had a one chance in the third. It won't be any better than that. At some point, they had the one graded chance and they score on the C chance. So there at some point we got. I think lately when we didn't have our best third period, we were not generating offense. I think in that period we generate good offense. We had grade A chance starting from the first shift, and we generate good offense. We doubled them on every the grade A's and the grade B, the B chance. So I think we generate good offense. I think we need to be more opportunistic. I think if there's something, might be that, because I have no problem about the way we played defense and the offense we generate. I did not like their possession in our zone. I think we could have been better in our zone to kill plays and break out more cleaner. Because if you look at their possession in our zone was too high, and even that we find a way to generate offense at a good pace. So there's positive in that, but at the same time, I think we'll address the pace in our D zone, the pressure and the puck carrier, and want to spend less time there.
I didn't get a chance to see the final numbers, but after the second period, Mikhail Sergachev was on base to play about 3 minutes less than he normally does. Yeah. Was that intended with him coming back from injury?
No, that's the way it should be. I said that many times in front of you here. You know, we wanted him to have a chance to play with pace. How do you like his game? I did like his game tonight. I think he was moving his feet. He was offensively and defensively. I like his energy out there. I think we give him a chance to play that way. When you play him 26 minutes, he has no chance. He has no chance to play his full potential.
How have you seen him grow as a leader? He was saying he feels like part of this is on him to help the group out a bit, just in this new room.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of character. Like just his comment you just said to me, I think that showed him. He takes ownership and He doesn't shy away from responsibility, and he's a winner. He won before, so he knows what it takes, and he believes in that group, and he wants to win.
Barrett, Hayden, Josh Down, and Alex Kerfoot line just seemed really good today. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they were really good. They created different ways from face-off to forecheck to the rush, so I like their game a lot.
What did you make of the other line changes?
I think Karks brought good energy. I think with Bernard Crosser, they had good moments. The way they were using their guys on the other side, and we didn't want to play 4 lines, for the energy and everything. So we had to broke that line here and there. So they didn't play as many minutes together. I would have loved them to play more, but I like the way they played. Banner's line and Boogie's line. I think both lines were effective.
Did you like McBain at center?
Oh yeah, I always like McBain at center.
Crosby scores the game winner. In your perspective, what does it take for a player to remain that talented and effective after 20 years?
You need to be dedicated to your sports. I think he is, and it's well documented. I think he's really serious about his craft, and he has it's funny because he always behaves like he has a chip on his shoulder. He always want to prove something. So he's a good example for someone who wants to be on top of this game.
I know it's not your department, but what did you think of the team name news that came out today?
What I think of the names, or what?
Yeah, the Yeti no longer being one of the choices, and then the 3 that are now up for a fan.
That's a good question. Honestly, I like the process. I think when I talk with the management, I think the way they approach the name and the signification of the 3 names, plus the involvement of our fans, I think that is great. I think our fans will pick the name, so that cannot be any better in my opinion.
All right, there you have it. That's head coach Andre Tourigny, and close one tonight. Really close one, but 3-2 loss in the overtime to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And really no time to mope. I mean, still plenty of games coming up here. And as I mentioned, this was the first in this next stretch of 14, which is now 13. 10 of those are at home. So you're only playing 4 times on the road between now and the trade deadline is what I should mention. The end of that 14-game stretch is March 7th is a trade deadline. And I think you've got to make hay while the sun shines at home. A point against Pittsburgh is not bad, but it's not good. It needs to be better. And they'll have another kick at the can here coming up soon. So now that game is in the rearview mirror, the next video you see from us on Locked On is going to be the game preview for the Columbus Blue Jackets for Friday the 31st. So that one will follow. Hey, if you're still here and you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Subscriptions really help us out. Click the bell if you're on YouTube, and you'll know when a new video drops every single time. Sometimes, like today, they drop late in the day, but that's just how it goes. And so looking forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for being here, everybody. And you have been checking us out. Follow us everywhere on social media, but this is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.